Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are going to be talking about the final season of The Boys. That includes the series finale. Before that, though, we've also got an On the Horizon segment. We're going to talk about what's coming up in the next week or so, and an On Beat segment where we've got 3 news stories to go over, as well as 3 trailers to discuss. Let's get started with our On the Horizon segment.
On the Horizon.
On the Horizon is where we talk about what's coming up in the next week or so, and we're going to start things off with Rick and Morty, which is returning on Sunday, May 24th on Adult Swim. It's going to be coming on the 15th, though, of June on Hulu and HBO Max. So, coming like a couple weeks later for the streamers. They're doing these weird, like, little exclusivity windows. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
More on that later. I believe we have another one in here that's similar. It's actually the very next one, Spider Noir. So this one is a limited series. This is the Spider-Man Noir series with Nicolas Cage. This is coming on Monday, May 25th to MGM+. It's coming out on the 27th on Amazon Prime. So 2 days later. But here's like another little wrinkle to it. On Amazon Prime, it's dropping all at once. But on MGM Plus, even though the first episode is coming 2 days earlier, it's going to be airing week to week.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're doing that.
Just experimenting, I guess. I think Amazon thinks that they're in college. They're like, it's time to experiment.
It's like, oh, if you watch this on MGM Plus, you gotta wait every week for episodes, but...
You can see the first one 2 days early.
Well, if you watch on Amazon, you get all the episodes.
Yeah.
Just 2 days later, it's like, that makes no sense. Okay.
Yeah, very strange. 007 First Light is finally coming out on Wednesday, May 27th to PC, PS5, Xbox Series X. Not yet to Switch 2. The game is coming to Switch 2, but that's going to be later in the summer.
I said they need more time to polish it.
Yeah, unconfirmed release date for the Switch 2. So no date, they just said summer. Later summer. Criminal Minds Evolution is coming back on Thursday, May 28th on Paramount Plus. So if anybody who has Paramount Plus, this is your second show this year that you can watch on it. Deli Boys. We talked about this, we talked about a trailer for this like years ago, but this was like for the first season. So it's coming back for its second season on Thursday, May 28th. That's the one where these 2 boys inherit a deli from their father, but it turns out it was all tied up in like organized crime. But that's coming Thursday, May 28th, the new season on Hulu. Star City. This is interesting. This is an Apple TV Plus series, and it's a spin-off of For All Mankind, which is like an alternate history telling of the space race. And I talked about For All Mankind before because when I subscribed to Apple TV for Pluribus, I was trying to like watch through as much stuff on Apple TV as I could. And For All Mankind was one of the things on the top of my list. And it's an interesting show because it's like an alternate history of the space race where Russia lands on the moon first. And that creates like an even more intense rivalry between Russia and the US and leads to things like it takes place over the course of decades. And so like in the 80s, they already had like bases on the moon and stuff, which we do not have in our reality. In like the 90s, they're already on like Mars. So it's like this very accelerated version of the space race. But they're doing this spin-off, Star City, of this series that's going to focus kind of on the Russian perspective. So I thought that was kind of an interesting way to handle that. So, but that's coming on Friday, May 29th to Apple TV. Mina the Hollower, another one finally coming out on Friday, May 29th to PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, Switch, and Switch 2. This is from Yacht Club Games, the makers of Shovel Knight, and it's supposed to be kind of a Zelda-like, I guess. Like an old school 2D Zelda-like, but different. Kind of like in the same way that Shovel Knight was kind of like a little bit Mega Man, a little bit DuckTales, the NES game.
Yeah.
But Mina the Hollower is I've heard people say it's like old school 2D Zelda with FromSoft vibes or something. So,
Yeah, that's what I heard too. It's interesting.
yeah, but that's finally coming out on Friday, May 29th. We've known about this game for years. So finally coming out. Backrooms. We talked about the trailer for this one. This is that kind of creepypasta one. And it's another example of the director was like a content creator for YouTube. And now he's doing a movie in the same way that kind of Markiplier did. What was it? Iron Lung that he did?
Yeah.
So this is kind of like the next one in that run of YouTubers becoming directors. And it's a creepypasta story that was spread around the internet, and here it is. Backrooms on Friday, May 29th to theaters. Pressure is also coming to theaters on Friday, May 29th. This is like, it's about World War II. It's about the D-Day attack and like all the build up to that. So, and it's got Brendan Fraser in it. The Breadwinner is a kind of old school comedy, the kind of stuff you don't really see in theaters too much, like a family comedy along the lines of like a Father of the Bride or Meet the Fockers type of movie. And that's coming on Friday, May 29th to theaters. And then Tuner. I believe we talked about this trailer a while ago. It's the one about the piano tuner who's kind of like hearing impaired and he gets involved with like organized crime as like a safecracker.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that trailer? That movie is coming out also on Friday, 29th to theaters. But that is it for On the Horizon segment. And now we're going to move on to On Beat.
On Beat.
On Beat, as I said, is our news segment. We've got 3 news stories to go over and then 3 trailers to talk about. Our first news story is that Sam Raimi, hot off the heels of Send Help, which we're going to be discussing in 2 weeks, I believe, is going to direct a remake of the ventriloquist horror classic Magic. Magic originally starred Anthony Hopkins, and it was about a ventriloquist whose dummy was like, it was kind of confusing if his dummy was actually alive and doing evil things or if it was because he was crazy but it's like a very copied idea that you've probably seen episodes of TV shows that have done like a one-off episode where they've taken this exact story. And now Sam Raimi is going to be directing a remake of it, and he's bringing the writers of Send Help along with him, Mark Swift and Damian Shannon. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about Send Help with you, but this is an exciting prospect of Sam Raimi doing another kind of like interesting, weird horror movie that he's going to be able to really like slather his style all over.
I'm glad we got weird horror Sam Raimi back.
Yeah, definitely. R-rated weird horror Sam Raimi.
Yes.
No more of that PG-13 horror.
No more of that. Yeah, right. No more of that PG-13 horror.
Yeah. Our next news story is Nintendo has revealed through their Nintendo Today app that Intelligent Systems is developing a mobile game called Picto Nico. They released a trailer for this. It just kind of came out of nowhere. It was like they had their regular Nintendo Today update in the middle of the day, and then sometime in like the late afternoon, they just went like, well, here's something else. And Picto Nico, you take pictures of your friends, and then those pictures turn into mini games. And it looks very WarioWare.
Yes, it does. When I watched the trailer, that's the first thing I thought was like WarioWare. I was like, oh, okay. And then they're
doing a lot to add to these little mini games, like add a lot of character. There's one that in particular where it showed there was like a picture of a girl, and then it added a bunch of crabs to her face, and you had to like pull the crabs off of her face, and when you did, it like deformed her cheeks, like stretched them out. And then once you pop them all off, you see like a tear form in the corner of her eye and roll down her cheek. I'm like, they're doing a lot, with this to really like preserve that sense of humor. They're not just doing like, oh, we're using a photograph and adding like a little funny thing to it or something. They're like actually doing a lot to like really get that WarioWare vibe.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's coming out soon. That's coming out the end of the month, so.
Yep, they kind of like announced this like right as they're releasing it, so like a very short lead time between announcement and release.
Yeah, not quite a shadow drop, but pretty close.
Yes, pretty close. Apparently it's going to be free to start, but it's basically like if you download it, you get basically like a demo of it with like a handful of the mini games. But then there's 80 mini games in total, purchasable in 2 packs. There's like 2 packs of mini games, one for $5.99 and one for $7.99.
Yeah, I'll probably just pay the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, no reason not to.
Yeah,
there doesn't seem to be like
fun.
any sort of monetization or microtransactions besides just like buying those sets of mini games.
Yeah, definitely. I'll buy this. This looks worth it for that. For like what that would be about $15 or something.
Yeah, about that.
That's fair. I mean that for like a little thing with like 80 games in it, that's $80 or not 80, $15 is like that works for me. That math makes sense.
Yeah, that works for me too.
Yeah.
So they'll be fun to check out, I think.
Definitely. And then our last news story before we get into trailers is that Sony is holding a State of Play on June 2nd. A video game event in June?
Right? Crazy. Yeah, this is the big show for Sony because, like, this is going to be an hour long. They're going to focus.
This is their not E3 event.
Yeah, this is their not E3 event. This is going to be an hour long. This is going to focus on what is their biggest game for the fall. Wolverine. There's going to be a big focus. So there's going to be big announcements. And we know there's going to be big announcements because they've made a deal with the Alamo Drafthouse where they are going to be screening it at the Alamo Drafthouse.
Yeah.
Which tells me, like, they think that this is a big deal and that they got exciting things to talk about, which is cool. I'm certainly looking forward to it.
You're going to be going to an Alamo Drafthouse? You're going to be...
No.
You're going to be commuting to New York City so you can go to Alamo Drafthouse?
No, I don't think so. No. I would not go to a theater for, like, a video game, like, show.
For a commercial, yeah.
Not even for, like, a Nintendo Direct.
Well, come on now. But it's supposed to be about an hour long. Like you said, it's going to be at the Alamo Drafthouse, which is a small movie theater chain. They've got, I think, 10 or so locations, maybe more. They have a few across Texas. They have like 2 in California and 1 in New York, I think. I think that's pretty much it. I don't think they're really in any other states. But, yeah. And one of the big focuses is going to be on Wolverine, which is a game that was teased. What was it? What was that first tease? Like 5-6 years ago, something like that? That initial teaser where it's just like him in the bar. They teased that and like Blade at like the same time, if I remember correctly. And Blade ended up disappearing. And then the Wolverine one, we finally got a new trailer for it just like last year, I think, right? Was that last year or was that early this year that we got the new Wolverine trailer where we heard about their like whole new blood system and stuff like that?
Right.
That was last year, right?
I think so.
Anyways, this is kind of like the first we're learning about big video game events in June. Of course, E3 used to be in June. E3 doesn't exist anymore. That's why we always refer to this time as not E3, because it's basically E3 without E3. It's like all the big players have shows. Nintendo's probably going to have a Nintendo Direct. I think only one year they haven't. Microsoft's almost certainly going to have some kind of event or some kind of thing that they're going to do. And Sony announced this as kind of like looks like it might be the biggest event of the 3. Like I bet Nintendo's is just going to be a Direct, probably like a 40-minute Direct with maybe a Treehouse after. I don't think they're going to be doing like an Alamo Drafthouse collaboration thing, you know? I just don't see that in the cards for what Nintendo might be planning. But yeah, not E3 lives.
Yep, exactly. I'm excited. It's the most exciting time of the year as far as I'm concerned.
Christmas in June.
Yes.
That's it for our regular news stories, and now we're going to move on to our trailers. As I said, we've got 3 trailers we're going to go over. Very different trailers. We have one that's kind of like you'd expect on this podcast that we would cover, and that we're saving that one for last. We got one that's kind of like a comedy that, you know, we're covering because it looks funny. And we got one that we don't know too terribly much about, but it looks fascinating, and that's where we're going to start. We got a trailer for a movie called Her Private Hell. Stars the girl from Companion. Can't remember the actress's name. And it's from the director
Sophie
of Drive.
Thatcher.
Yes, Sophie Thatcher, that's right. And it's from the director of Drive. And
yep, Nicholas Winding Refn.
It looks absolutely beautiful.
Probably just butchered that, actually.
It said, at the end, it said, Her Private Hell, a film by NWR. So I guess we can just refer to him as NWR. But yeah, absolutely beautiful looking trailer, very stylistic. I read a little bit about it, and apparently it's about a group of actresses, and they're filming like a very like genre style movie, and there's like a serial killer or something.
That's what I heard too.
So yeah, interesting. I'll have to see that. Drive was really good.
Yeah, Drive was fantastic.
Beautiful. So, I mean, every frame of this was gorgeous, so we'll have to see that. Little Brother is the next trailer we're going to talk about. This is John Cena and Eric Andrews as, in quotation mark, brothers?
Oh, but you called him, like, you didn't say Eric Andre.
Oh, Eric, what did I say?
Said Eric Andrews.
Oh, Eric Andre, sorry. Yeah, starring as brothers. This is like a comedy.
Well, they're not really brothers. The comedy is, so the basic premise of what what the point is. John Cena plays like a guy who has like a successful life, and he's contacted in the most ridiculous way by his little brother. And by little brother, it's somebody like he was mentoring for like a big brother, little brother program in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like he was mentoring this person as a kid when he was in high school. And so they're not like really like blood related brothers.
Well, he gets a call from like the hospital telling him his little brother is there or something.
Yeah.
And he rushes to the hospital. I guess he actually has a little brother. He rushes to the hospital and gets there and he's like, wait a minute. This isn't my brother.
You're right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I was alluding to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks interesting. Looks like they're going with the psych ward route with his character.
It reminded me a lot of What About Bob?
Yeah, yeah.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, with Bill Murray.
With Bill Murray, yeah.
It's Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss, right?
Yeah, Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss, yes.
Yeah, where like,
very
Richard Dreyfuss is like a therapist and one of his clients is becomes kind of dangerously obsessed with him and like follows him onto a vacation and stuff.
Yeah, follows him onto a vacation and kind of like inserts himself into his therapist's life and family.
Yeah,
you know, like,
definitely has that kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, it definitely does.
And I think they're a good pairing because, you know, Eric Andre is just kind of he's really good at playing crazy, and John Cena is really good at playing frustrated and like annoyed.
John Cena playing the straight man in this is fun too, because like the last few things like I've seen him in, like he isn't the straight man.
Peacemaker, yeah.
Peacemaker.
What was that? Heads of State with Idris Elba.
Heads of State, in that one movie where like he was like that guy these guys hire, the actor, something I forget.
Oh yeah. The with the one comedian from the Bad Friends podcast.
With the guy from High School Musical. Ricky
he's in it too. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
I was thinking of the redheaded comedian from the Bad Friends podcast with Bobby from Mad TV.
Oh yeah.
He was one of the guys in that. I knew that. But yeah, Ricky Stenicki, that was it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this looks funny. It's good to see comedies kind of coming back, but this is not theatrical. This is a Netflix movie.
Yeah, this is now. Unfortunately, comedy seems to be like a pretty like almost dead genre theatrically. Like the spoof movies are coming back, at least. The spoof movies are coming back theatrically.
And family comedies are coming back. Like I said, there's a Breadwinner movie coming out. We talked about that earlier in the podcast, but also like there's a new Fockers movie coming out. So like that kind of like family comedy stuff is also kind of coming back.
I would like to see like stuff like this come back too. It's funny because like I was watching a trailer and I was thinking like, what about Bob? And I was kind of like thinking, you know, this is like a very like 90s, 2000s style comedy.
Yeah, we haven't had too many of those in a while. Like it would be cool to get some more of those.
Yes.
Just so that it's not, I mean, right now you go to the movie theater and there's basically like 4 types of movies that you see all the time. One is horror movies. It's like a third of the industry now.
Yes.
There's always several horror movies. Then of course you always have kids movies.
Yep. Always have family movies.
Yeah.
And there's the superhero
movie. And now you have the new thing, which I can't stand, which is like the religious propaganda movies.
Oh
like
yeah.
Angel Studios type shit, you know?
Oh yeah. The Angel Studios. Oh my God.
And that seems to be it. That seems to be basically like everything you get in theaters now. So it's whenever something kind of challenges that, I look forward to it. But that's for Little Brother. And the last movie we're going to discuss, or not movie, but the last trailer we're going to discuss is for the DC TV series Lanterns. This is the first live action series in the DC universe, the new DC universe under James Gunn. This was a series created by Damon Lindelof and been described to us as like True Detective, but with Green Lanterns in it. And we had like a scene thing before. It wasn't even a teaser for the show itself. It was like one of those general HBO things that they put out where it's like, this is what's coming up next year. And they show like 10 different shows or whatever. And that was like our first look at it. And then they released an initial trailer, which was good, but it really didn't show much, especially nothing very Green Lantern-y in that trailer, like at all. There's like one scene where a character flies away and that's it. Otherwise, there's like nothing magical at all. It's just straight up normal shit. But this trailer feels like Green Lantern.
Yes. This has a lot more of the Green Lantern elements, including it has the suit, explains like some of the lore behind the Green Lanterns. You know, it has like them like actually using the rings in scenes. And the trailer even features Guy Gardner.
Yeah, you even see Guy Gardner gardener. I think you see another lantern very briefly in like a shot that like Hal Jordan's talking to somebody. Yeah, there's a lot more going on in this. It's also, even though this trailer more than anything is kind of focusing on like what a Green Lantern is, which none of the other trailers really did. Another thing that this trailer is really doing is really getting into the kind of almost antagonistic relationship between Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan.
Yes, because like the basic premise setup of this is Hal is investigating a shooting in a small town that he believes is related to aliens. He's kind of like being forced to take Jon along with him because the Guardians want Jon to be a lantern, like a backup lantern, and Hal is like not cool with this at all.
Yeah.
Because traditionally, how you get to be a Green Lantern is the ring chooses its wearer. I think, like, from Hal's point of view, the whole thing with Jon is the Guardians are dictating it. There's no, like, natural there's no ring choosing Jon. So I think, like, it's kind of like this whole thing, like, he's begrudgingly training him.
It's also, they're playing up the dynamic of, like, Jon Stewart is kind of, like, frustrated with Hal Jordan, but he, like, wants to be a hero, and he thinks that there's expectations of somebody being a hero that he doesn't hold Hal Jordan up to anymore. But it seems in the trailer that Hal Jordan's been somebody that he's known of since he was a child. It seems like in the trailer they showed him as a child watching Hal Jordan on TV, and it might be somebody that he, like, previously idolized, and it kind of like a don't meet your heroes kind of situation.
It kind of like, a don't meet your heroes kind of way.
Yeah. I think it looks good. I'm way more psyched for this than I was from the last teaser. Of course, I was already all in because it's Damon Lindelof and James Gunn's DCU, like, colliding together.
Yeah, colliding together. I don't know if we've discussed it, but it's already been confirmed that the actor playing Jon Stewart in this is also going to appear in Man of Tomorrow, the next Superman movie.
Speaking of, there have been some other ones too, right? Like, they finally confirmed now that Supergirl's going to be in Man of Tomorrow as well.
Yeah, Vanity Fair did a profile today with Millie Alcock to promote Supergirl coming out in July, and she confirmed that she is going to be in Man of Tomorrow.
I'm sad that it already looks like Supergirl's not going to do that well.
Yeah.
It looks like there's not a lot of hype for it. It looks like there's a lot of people that are kind of disparaging it, and it's just like more of the fucking misogynistic bullshit, not even giving it a chance thing, which, who knows? Maybe it's not going to be a good movie, but I don't know.
I mean,
I
wouldn't blame it on that because, like, I mean, again, those people aren't the tastemakers. It's like, if it's anything, it's probably, just like general indifference to it.
Which is just so unfortunate because I think it's great. I'm like super psyched for this. I've been psyched for this since we saw Millie Alcock as Supergirl in Superman, I was like, okay, this is perfect. The second we saw her cameo in that movie, I'm like,
I thought like she's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as I saw her at the end, like I wanted to see more of her.
Yeah. I
really will watch
hope
this
movie does well. I'm gonna have to see this movie like 10 times just to put in my
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
just to put in my help, I mean, I have a subscription so I can just do that, but,
Yeah, exactly. Just do it.
Yeah. I'll just buy tickets even if I'm not going, I'll just stop by the mall and and then leave. So that is our On Beat segment, and now we're going to move on to our final segment, full spoilers. This week on Full Spoilers, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to be talking about The Boys Season 5. That is the final season of The Boys. The epic conclusion we've been waiting for. How do you want to approach this? I thought a good way might be just to kind of go through some of the characters and like go through their fates, kind of,
Kind of.
Talk about what happened with the characters, where they are, because there's a lot of other stuff that weaves in and out that I don't think is really all that important.
I will say, like, first of all, I just want to, like, give my general impressions. I was not a fan of the season. I was not.
All the way through, or like at specific points?
All the way through. There's specific points that I liked. There's specific things I liked, but I really felt like the season was meandering. I felt like they were
surprisingly so, considering we talked about this. This was our concern, is that every season of The Boys since the first feels like it's meandering, and then we were like, oh, but it's the last season, so they don't have to tread water anymore, and immediately they're treading water.
Immediately they're treading water. I felt like they they reset the status quo from the end of season 4 for like no reason.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, okay, everything's back to normal now.
They turned like a multi-seasonal story about a soup virus into nothing.
Yes. Yeah, the virus ended up not mattering at all. Just a lot of baffling creative decisions. But yeah, we could go over the fates of the various characters. I will say, though, when it came to the finale, I did enjoy the finale. The finale wasn't as grandiose, like, as it should have been. It was kind of, like, low-key, but, like, it did the things I wanted it to do, at least. You know, like, it wrapped up everybody's story, like, satisfyingly enough. Even if it was, like, very cheap and low budget.
Okay, so to approach this, I think we'll save the better characters for later.
Okay.
So let's start with some of the characters on the 7 outside of Homelander. We'll talk about that later. Let's talk about Soldier Boy.
Yes. So Soldier Boy, yes.
He's obviously tied to Homelander, but we'll talk about that aspect of Homelander.
So what I want to say about Soldier Boy is, like, first of all, I love the character. I love Jensen Ackles. He's fun to watch. He's fun when he's on the screen, but it just feels like he was only here to sell the next show, to sell Vault Rising, rather than being a function of this season.
Definitely. They totally put in all the stuff about, like, Liberty/Stormfront.
Yes.
That, like, it didn't really seem like he gave a shit about before, and then they're like, all of a sudden they're making it like they had the most epic love story ever or something, and it's like, what? And it's like, oh, well, that's because they're doing the prequel show, and it's about those two characters.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he never once mentioned Liberty or Stormfront, like, when in season 3, but, like, now it's, like, the most important person in his life.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like that. I agree with that exactly. It was good to see him, though, and he had more to do, I think, in this season than he did in his initial season.
Yes, he did. And the episode where they did the Supernatural reunion was fun.
Yeah, we have to get to that because otherwise we wouldn't talk about it. But we got to see Misha, who played Castiel in Supernatural, but also his brother from Supernatural, Sam Winchester, who is played by Jared Padalecki,
who is playing Mr. Marathon.
Misha was playing Malchemical.
Yeah, Malchemical, and Jared's character, Mr. Marathon, was an original member of the 7 who was kicked out of the group because, like, his whole thing was the fastest man alive. Mm-hmm. And then he got slow and A-Train became the fastest man alive. Yeah. And so he got kicked out of the 7 in favor of A-Train.
Yeah. Which is like, it basically calls back to, like, A-Train's season 1 story where he had, like, the race against the other soup. And the whole thing was about him, like, taking Compound V because as, like, a drug to enhance himself because he didn't want to, like, lose this race. And this kind of ties back into that, like, okay, this is like a running thing. Yeah, this is a running thing. They just keep replacing the fastest person, you know?
Right, yeah, exactly. That was fun because that also, like, featured a bunch of cameos of Seth Rogen,
Camille Nanjiani,
Christopher Mintz-Plasse.
Yeah, that's a bunch of McLovin.
Yeah, McLovin. A bunch
Bill Forte. Craig Robinson was in it for like a second.
Craig Robinson for a second. And spoiler, they all get, like, brutally murdered by Mr. Marathon.
Yeah, unintentionally by Mr. Marathon.
Unintentionally. And, like, a really twisted take on what happened to Robin in the first episode of the series.
Yeah. Just like somebody trying to attack with super speed and accidentally, like, running through people and stuff. And Soldier Boy using that to basically kill all these people.
Yeah.
After Malchemical had released toxin that actually affected Homelander.
Yes. And it actually, like, knocked him out. Yeah. So, like, they had a solid plan for taking out Homelander.
They just thought that Soldier Boy would be on their side. And
yeah, they thought Soldier Boy would go along with it. That was the Soldier Boy was, like, on his, like, I'm cool with Homelander again arc. So
he got his paternal instincts kicked in.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Because that's what Clara would have wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Deep. So the Deep continued his ass hattery that's been going on since season
Honestly,
1.
like, honestly, like, I get the criticisms of Deep that he's kind of just useless, that he's just there as a joke character. And, like, but, like, I thought, like, okay, I actually liked his arc this season. Because very early on in the season, like, in the first episode, he tracks down A-Train, and A-Train has this conversation with the Deep, basically telling the Deep he knows Homelander doesn't care about him, and that he's too scared to stand up to Homelander. He's too afraid of him. Mm-hmm. And this is like, A-Train was on his redemption arc. Yeah. And it was kind of like a statement saying, the Deep is not going to have a redemption arc. He's not going to have an A-Train redemption arc. This is us stating that very plainly. And he doesn't.
Yeah, he gets killed by his people. He gets killed by the sea.
Yeah, this is really funny. because like as the season goes on, he gets into like this beef with Black Noir, the second Black Noir. He gets into like this feud. Homelander announces like this oil pipeline, and then the Black Noir, after the Deep ruined his audition by killing like his drama teacher or whatever.
Yeah, that's the director of the...
Yeah, the director from the previous seasons, yeah.
Yeah, killed in a brutal fashion by like an eel like going up his ass from the toilet or something.
So Black Noir 2, basically, he goes in the ocean and he destroys this pipeline, causes a massive ecological incident, kills billions of underwater life, just to get back at the Deep, which is completely psychotic.
Yeah.
If you thought Black Noir 2 was just this normal guy, like, trying to just be an actor, like, no, he was a total psychopath. So, yeah, he was a psychopath. And, like, the reason why I'm talking about Black Noir here in context of, like, Deep storyline is Black Noir doesn't really have a storyline. Sorry, he doesn't.
It's just tied to the Deep. And, you know, eventually the Deep kills him because of this ecological disaster. Yeah,
the Deep kills Black Noir for this, but then this leads to, like, all the fish in the ocean, like, hating the Deep's guts. And now they're out for the Deep.
Including Xander the Shark, who is voiced by Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson, yeah. Who was the shark that took him. He was riding when he confronted A-Train at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And there's this hilarious scene at the end where, like, somebody's drowning and there's a crowd of people. They see the Deep and, like, he refuses to go in the water and he just, like, cowardly runs away.
Yeah.
And then, like, in the last episode, he shows up and Homelander really gives it to him in the last episode.
Basically, Homelander, like, becomes unleashed. We'll talk about that more later, but he just, like, stops caring about any pretense, you know?
Yeah, he starts caring about any pretense. The Deep is, like, sucking up to Homelander, and Homelander is just, you debase yourself for drops of my affection. It's pathetic. Yeah, the only reason I haven't already killed you is because it's better to let you suffer with your patheticness or something like that.
Yeah, and so, yeah, the Deep is still trying to defend Homelander, thinking that he's gonna, you know, by taking out, if he takes out Starlight, then, you know, Homelander will, like, accept him or something. Gets into a big fight with her. She can fly now. She takes him out. They're fighting. They're on, like, a beach.
They're on a beach. And here's the sad part about the end of, like, the Deep's story is during that fight, like, Annie is, she's not even, like, trying to kill him. She's, like, trying to reason with him. She's trying to give him, like, his out. Trying to let him walk away from everything, but he's, like, so stupid. He's so irredeemable that he refuses, and then she blasts him into water, and then finally, like, the fish of the ocean get their promised revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like she had no idea that
yeah, she had no idea that would even happen. Yeah. And I think that's a fitting end for him too, like, just having him being murked by, like, the ocean creatures.
Yeah. Let's talk about Firecracker. Firecracker's storyline this season was like a crisis of faith.
Yes, it was a crisis of faith. I thought it was, like, a well done thing. Here's, like, my complaint with it, though, because they've done this before, and it kind of annoys me when they do this. It's where, like, Firecracker has up to this point been mainly, like, a joke character, like the Deep. You know, she's basically been there to just be an idiot and be a foil for, like, Homelander or whatever.
And they're trying to give us compassion for her and, like, depth to her. And
they're giving
really
depth to her. It works. The episode was really effective to her character and, like, showing her backstory, but they only started doing this the episode they killed her off.
Yeah, I think it would have been better if she had failed the test.
Yes.
But what I mean is that, like, you know, she was having a crisis of faith, and she chose Homelander out of fear.
Yes.
I think it would have been better if she chose him not out of fear, and then was still fucking killed by him. And that would tell the tragedy of, like, trying to care for a sociopath, you know, that's never gonna care for you. And it doesn't matter at all. And it was just like, we got to see in this episode, like, oh, Firecracker isn't as bad as we thought she is. She's just terrified. And she's, like, living in this constant state of terror. And up until the point that Homelander fucking murks her. But I think it would have been more interesting if she just remained a horrible person, you know?
Right.
Like, that she didn't try to, like, it wasn't like she was cowering in fear and then got killed, but that she was, like, didn't see it coming at all, like, totally fucking accepted him, and he just stopped caring about her and just killed her.
Oh no, well that is the storyline. Like, at the end there, like,
no, she was cowering in fear.
Her storyline, and she also explained, like, her character is supposed to be the example of, like, the leopards eating the faces. At the end there, they showed her because they pointed out like she had like a Jesus figurine that she like always carried with her. And like at the end of the episode, we see her, she throws it out.
Yeah, but even still, that was like, they did so much to show this crisis of faith moment for her that it was clearly out of terror.
Right.
That she was like accepting him because she thought that was the only way. I think it would have been better if she was pushing for him in that way and then he still fucking killed her because he just didn't care.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So it didn't work for me in that regard. Sister Sage, probably one of the characters I hate the most just because really hyper-intelligent characters, especially like super-powered hyper-intelligent characters, are really hard to do right because you really have to portray intelligence. And I think like Sister Sage, through her run on The Boys, it's always just been like really kind of dumb plans from the smartest person on earth, you know? Like they never really were able to sell that. And that's hard. It's a hard thing to sell. I think she's frustrating to me in the same reason why Brave New World was a frustrating movie for me. Because it's like, you can't just tell us someone's super intelligent and have them do the dumbest shit ever.
Honestly, like, I don't even know what importance she was this season, to be honest. It's like...
Yeah, I mean, she was just getting played.
She was just there.
The whole, not predicting love thing was really lame.
Yeah, that whole thing was like, she was like shocked that Soldier Boy gave the V1 to Homelander because, oh my god, she didn't like calculate that Soldier Boy's feelings for Clara would lead him to do that or whatever.
Yeah, it was kind of a dumb turn.
Yes.
But,
and she doesn't like really do anything post that either, so it's kind of...
She got to live. She lost her powers.
Yeah, she lost her powers, and ironically, after she loses her powers and goes back to being normal intelligence is when she does the smartest thing she's done in the entire series and just fucks off.
Yeah. Let's talk about A-Train. A-Train had a very short stint in this season. He was
only
like
in
the
episode
first major character killed.
Yes, because it's a final season and you have to like open with a statement. You know, you have to like open with a major character dying.
I really liked his death because he did have the redemption arc
it felt earned. Yes.
Yeah.
It was earned.
Calling Homelander pathetic and stuff to his face.
I would have liked
to see... It was a brave moment.
I would have liked to see him like active in more of the season before that happened, like maybe like in episode 3 or 4, to see like more of him on this redemption arc and like trying to help the boys, but like it works in the first episode.
Yeah. He ends up helping out even though he said he wouldn't, which is like, this isn't leverage on him that they're using. This isn't like them guilting him into doing it. This is him deciding that he needs to help them. So it's like a true redemption in that moment, you know? And then he dies because of it.
Yeah, he dies because of it. And he dies bravely too. He tells Homelander the truth to his face.
Yep.
And Homelander kills him because Homelander is soft.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Oh Father. Was this character in past seasons? I don't think so. I think this is our first time seeing him.
Yeah, I think he's just in this season.
Yeah, played by Daveed Diggs, who is excellent. It's great to see Daveed Diggs in anything.
It's amazing. Like, he created like a very fun character with like the screen time he had. Like, Oh Father was like a very fun character. He is the example of the hypocrisy of like evangelical Christianity, right?
Yes.
He is like the hypocrisy. He is the person who looks the part and talks the talk, but he doesn't walk the walk.
Yeah, where Firecracker was having a crisis of faith, Oh Father like just immediately accepted.
Yes.
Homelander.
Because he never believed anyway. He doesn't even believe in Homelander, to be honest, but like he's all on board.
He's just opportunistic and goes with it.
Yeah, he's opportunistic and goes with it.
Yeah. And they made him interesting because they had like the relationship pairing with him and Ashley.
Yes.
Which we finally got to learn what Ashley's power is.
Yes.
She took the V at the end of the last season.
Yeah, she grew a second base in the back of her head and can read minds.
Yeah. So, Oh Father didn't survive. Ashley did.
Yeah, Ashley did. Yeah, Oh Father gets killed by mother's milk with a ball gag.
But I have to say, the most hilarious thing with Ashley this season, Ashley actually had quite a few funny moments. The whole thing where
she did.
The face on the back of her head was controlling her body to read and like walking backwards to read Soldier Boy's thoughts.
Yes.
That was like hilarious. And then I really liked her final moment in the show, which is that she survived. And then at the end, she did like a press thing and she's like, yes, and I am going to stay on as president. And then it like immediately cuts that was former president.
It immediately cuts to like a news report saying she was like impeached and removed from office by unanimous vote from Congress.
That was hilarious.
That was hilarious. Yeah.
I love that cut so much. That might have been the most funny scene in the entire season.
Oh, that was the funniest scene. Yeah, that was hilarious, actually.
Yeah. We could talk a little bit about Stan Edgar. He ends up on top again.
Yep, he ends up on top. This isn't surprising. Like, in the one episode that featured him, like, heavily, he tells, I think he's talking to MM in that scene. He tells him that basically the real monster is capitalism. And even if you kill Homelander or get rid of the soup, if they kill all the soups, there's still going to be capitalism. There's still going to be business. There's still going to be Vought. Yeah. Vought will just pivot. And he made it clear that he intends to be the one running Vought when the dust settles, no matter what.
And he is again.
Yes.
There's some other characters I can bring up connected to his story, but I don't really think they're that consequential.
No, not really.
Like Maverick and Zoe and stuff, but...
Maverick is just, no. And Zoe is like, she only appears in one episode to destroy, like, the virus that they were developing, which is like a setback, but no, it doesn't end up being like a big setback.
Let's pivot into the boys themselves. We'll go through like Huey, Starlight, William, and Homelander kind of like last.
Okay.
We could start with like Mother's Milk.
Yeah, Mother's Milk. He doesn't really get like a storyline in this. His whole thing is he's cynical and he becomes like more like Butcher at the beginning. And then like towards the end of the season for like seemingly like no reason, he's just like, oh man, I was cynical. I had scar over my heart, but like that's not me. I'm the guy with the heart of gold. Okay, like what prompted this?
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
Yeah, his family's like only in it at the very end when he goes back to him after everything's over.
Yes.
He's one of the characters that gets a happy ending.
Yes, yeah. I'm glad like they didn't kill off Mother's Milk, to be honest. It's shown at the end he adopts Ryan.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
We got Frenchie. He had kind of a tragic end.
Yes. So like a big storyline on The Boys was like a big focus on Frenchie and Kimiko's relationship. Mm-hmm. That got like a big focus on there. And basically we knew like it was giving off death flags. It was like one or both of them are going to die.
Yeah.
You know, it was inevitable. Frenchie dies via Homelander trying to protect Kimiko and Sage, you know, and I think he goes out to like a very heroic end.
Another really funny moment was when they had his funeral and Hugh's reading his letter and it's all about how he's seen all of their assholes.
It's like really, he wrote like this really vulgar like letter for his final words
including
for some
sketches
reason.
Of their assholes.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny too. But yeah, he had a sad ending and Kimiko, she ended up surviving and being like crucial
because they basically gave Kimiko Soldier Boy's V-wiping powers by basically doing to her what the Russians did to Soldier Boy.
Yeah, that's like the one place where Sister Sage fit in.
Yes.
Because she like helped them figure out the like correct dosage or whatever of radiation to achieve that. They ended up achieving that right as like Homelander was arriving and Sister Sage and Kimiko hid in like a zinc-lined container because Homelander can't see through that.
Yeah.
And Frenchie faced him and died. But
yep.
Kimiko...
It's weird too, like the way they did that scene, because I saw like the behind the scenes of that where like they showed very clearly like behind the scenes photos showed that like Homelander like gutted Frenchie with his finger, because you could see like their photos where the actor playing Frenchie has like a prosthetic stomach with like a cut in it, and Anthony Starr's standing there with his finger in the cut, you know, in the prosthetic. But for some reason, like this isn't like actually shown in the episode, so like it's a little vague as to like what exactly happened.
I think they made the right choice. I think the more dramatic effect was Kimiko and Sister Sage going out after Homelander left.
Yeah.
And finding him dying. Like if we had seen Homelander like disembowel him in that moment or whatever to kill him, it wouldn't have had the impact of like Kimiko finding him in that state, you know?
Right, yeah.
So I think they probably planned to do it that way and then realized in editing that it worked better the other way and they didn't have enough footage to really fix it.
Frenchie gets his final words to Kimiko, which are the same final words from the comic, you know, where he says it in French and then calls up from the first. You know, I loved, like, he says it in French, like, but it means like, I loved you, and then from the first in English.
Yeah.
Which are his exact final words from the comic.
Kimiko, she does get that Soldier Boy radiation power draining trick. It's how they take out Homelander.
Yes.
Ryan plays the part as well. He like after getting his ass kicked by Homelander, he, like, confronts Homelander and plays a part in that. But that's pretty much Kimiko's story. She's just gonna be miserable on her own until she can, like, learn to find happiness again in her own life. She's
exactly.
Goes off on her own, though. Now I guess we can go into probably, like, Huey and Starlight.
Yes.
So when
Huey and Starlight.
When the season started, you know, Huey and some of the others, they were, like, in a prison camp. And Starlight and Butcher, and they all, like, worked together to break them out. And there was kind of a tension between Huey and Starlight. And a lot of that was just the fact that Starlight had kind of given up. Like, she was in the fight, but she was given up on, like, living past the fight. And that was kind of like the storyline with Huey and Starlight, was, like, Huey trying to convince Starlight that she should continue to live after this, you know?
Huey's whole thing this season was he was full of hope, even when he had, like, no reason to be hopeful. and Starlight was, like, pretty much checked out. She goes back to, like, visit her father for an episode, and basically, you know, she's just trying to, like, rediscover her purpose, you know, rediscover her, like, drive. Because she's kind of checked out at the beginning.
Yeah, and so they go through their ups and downs, but, you know, it ends up working out for them. And at the end, after everything, she's pregnant, and she's still fighting crime. And
she's still fighting crime.
She's got, like, a electronics store.
Yeah.
So.
And they named the baby after, Huey's dead former girlfriend.
Who started it all.
Yes.
So that's, Huey and Starlight. Now we move on to the final group. We got William and Homelander, the two kind of butting heads forces of the show.
Yes.
I like that they stuck it with Butcher not being a good person, being kind of the message. That, like, he was so dedicated to taking out Homelander that by the time that was over, he had, like, nothing left.
So Butcher, this is interesting because, like, the ending of season 4, it kind of, like, set him up to be, like, he's, like, Dark Butcher now, right? He kills, I'm forgetting her name already.
The AOC parallel?
Yeah, the head popper lady. He kills her, he rips her in half. And then the last shot we see, like, as the other boys are being arrested by, like, the Supes, you know, by
Victoria
Homelander.
Newman.
Yeah, Victoria Newman. He rips Newman in half. And the last shot we see is, like, he's alone and, you know, he's driving off, you know, and he's got the virus, you know, and so kind of like they implied we're going to see a darker, more obsessed Butcher this season, but he just goes back to being, like, normal Butcher from the first episode.
Yeah, like I said, I liked the ending they gave him, but the path was kind of weird.
The path was weird, yeah. The ending they gave him is the ending from the comic. It was basically, the whole idea behind it was Butcher was supposed to go off the reservation and need to be put down. Yeah. And they kind of did not do that. But
they didn't do it as well. Like, I think they did a more emotional thing with the confrontation between Huey and Butcher. Like, that, they leaned into that more, which I think works for the way the TV series handled those characters.
Yes.
But it was at the same time, I think in the comics, like, I haven't read the comics, but from what I know, I think he killed a lot of his own team.
Yes, yeah. He kills pretty much most of his own team. My understanding of the comic is, like, I think Huey's, like, the only one that survives.
So they didn't go that far with it.
No, and I'm glad I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad we got to, like, MM got to live in stuff. I'm glad they didn't have, like, Butcher do that.
Yeah. I'm glad that they had Huey kill him to stop him, and that it was still, like, a sad kind of moment, and even, like, Butcher acknowledging, like, no, you had to do it because I wasn't going to stop, you know?
Yeah. I like, the whole thing, like, the way they played it, too, because, like, Huey shoots Butcher, and then as Butcher's bleeding out, like, Huey is just sitting with him and comforting him. You know, they both know that he had to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good ending for Butcher. I did like the confrontation, the way it played.
It was a good ending, just a weird path to it.
Yeah, it's funny, too, because they also, like, took the motivation from the comics, too. Like, the motivation for, like, Butcher going full psycho was Terror dying. Although in the comics, one of the 7 kills Terror. And
which
then
would
Butcher...
have been kind of lame. I think it works better. Just Terror was always an old dog, and then he just died. And it was kind of like, he died at, like, the worst possible moment when Butcher could have had, like, a moment of hope or something, but after everything, he basically lost everything, like I said, because Ryan turned his back on him. Ryan said, like, I helped you with Homelander because it was the right thing to do, but but you're a bad person.
Yeah.
And I don't want to start over with you. And so that was, like, the first blow. And then he goes and to find his dog, and he's like, well, it looks like it's just you and me. And then Terror's dead, and that's just, it sets him off.
Yeah, that sets him off.
It's like the realization that, like, he has nothing now. That, like, he accomplished his goal, evil, but he sacrificed everything to get.
Yeah, exactly. And so he goes back to the concept of the virus and the concept of killing all soups.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like well done that, and that is like the only ending that makes sense for Butcher.
Yeah, he has to go out. Like,
yes.
It wouldn't make sense for him to have he wouldn't be able to have a happy ending.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that leaves Homelander.
Yep, that leaves Homelander.
So Homelander this season had a vision of Madeline Stillwell as an angel, and then decided that he's God.
Yeah.
The ultimate end of that level of narcissism.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's hilarious too, because this kind of coincided. You gotta remember, this was written before Trump got elected again. This was written before the last election, before the 2024 election.
Mm-hmm.
They had already decided the story arc of Homelander deciding he's God. And as these episodes were coming out, as Homelander was declaring himself God, Trump was posting memes of himself as Jesus.
Yeah, and even did the golden statue.
There was even there was a golden statue of Homelander at the church, and then there's a golden statue of Trump at his golf course that evangelicals are literally worshipping, which Eric Kripke replied to that, "Fuck me."
Yeah.
We had this very bizarre parallel of reality mimicking this fiction in the worst possible way.
Yeah. So Homelander's on this pursuit of being God, and he's basically, I'll just kill everybody who's a non-believer. Even people that are following him but out of fear because he can hear their heartbeats is no, killing them. I want them to truly believe in me or something.
Yeah, in their heart of hearts, they gotta truly believe it. He's using psychics to determine remotely who truly believes that Homelander is savior.
Mm-hmm. They introduced the concept in this season of V1, which is a big part of the plot that kind of almost feels unnecessary.
Yeah, here's the thing. V1 is just this ridiculous MacGuffin that is invented to basically kind of drag out the plot, because
I think it does serve a purpose.
It serves a purpose. It serves a purpose of they got the virus, they could just go and they test it and it works. They could just go and use it on Homelander, but now they can't because there's this V1, and if Homelander gets it, then the virus doesn't work on him. And so now we gotta go start looking for this stuff.
There's a character reason to it too, which is that they had to, because they've been treading water for so long through so many seasons, they had to give a reasonable reason to push Homelander from the psychopath he already is to somebody who legitimately thinks he's God.
Yeah, that's
true.
He's
gonna become God. And V1 is kind of that, and that allows him to go to that final stage of narcissism.
Because one of the side effects of V1, aside from making soups completely immune to the soup virus, is the other side effect is V1 stops your aging.
Yeah.
All the soups with V1 stopped aging as soon as they were injected with it.
They're effectively immortal.
Yes, they're effectively immortal. And so basically that's the one thing Homelander doesn't have is immortality, and I think
that's when they were playing through last season. They were doing the whole thing with finding gray hairs and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. They were playing on that. The fact that Homelander, despite all his power, was still mortal, and him having anxiety about that. Mm-hmm. And so even more than trying to insulate himself from this virus, he wants the V1 because it will make him immortal.
Yeah. And he thinks, so I think the V1 plays a role in not just that, the storyline for that, but for his characterization of it's that final step. It's the reason why he finally laid it out for the Deep, for example, is because he's changed. He legitimately thinks himself like a god now. He no longer has to have as little of a filter as he had. He doesn't even need that anymore.
Well, he told the Deep in the previous episode that he disbanded the Seven.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't much of a Seven left at that point. It was basically him and the Deep at that point. But he told the Deep, I'm disbanding the Seven. There's no more the Seven because I am God.
I just mean that it's it's that level of narcissism that allows him to just not care at all anymore.
Yes.
To separate himself from everybody.
Yes.
And he was already a narcissistic, psychopath, but it took him to that next level. And I think that they pussyfooted around that idea so much for all the seasons, drawing it out, treading treading water that they needed to have something like a V1 as a MacGuffin to say, okay, now he's like, the switch is flipped. He is at that level now. He is at that level of like full overwhelming narcissism to the point that he doesn't care about anything anymore. He doesn't even pretend to care about anything anymore. He's just completely self-absorbed to that extent with like not even trying to placate anymore. Just that's over. And they needed something to push him in that direction.
Despite all this, he still doesn't really do anything this season except for like casually murder people. But I mean, he's been doing that the entire series.
You like the Elon Musk reference?
I like the Elon Musk reference. Yeah, that was funny. The Elon Musk guy, and then Homelander flies him into space.
Yeah.
But yeah, he casually murders a few people in this season, but like he's been doing that the entire series, so it's like that's not really anything new. But there's like allusions to him having to like destroy the non-believers, but there's no scene where he goes out and declares, like say a group of protesters or something as non-believers and like lasers them to death or anything.
Yeah, the only scene we got like that was in a past season, and it was a dream.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I would like to see something like that, just to like to further solidify that he's finally past that tipping point. He's finally past the point of caring what people think of him, to the point where like he's a god and he's just demanding people care about him.
Well, I mean, that's what he finally did right before Butcher arrived.
Yeah,
right
he does it like at the end, right before the fight happens and he gets killed. So like he never does it. So the whole series is kind of like a blue balling thing where they're like, he's gonna do it. He's gonna go over the deep end eventually. And then when he finally does, I mean, that's the point he has a big fight and dies.
And his death, again, going back to the comics, like you said with Frenchie, basically the same death as he had in the comics. Of course, so much had changed, in the comics, but he still died in the Oval Office of the White House by getting his head impaled by a crowbar.
Yeah, by a crowbar.
And ripped open, which is exactly what happened in the comic.
Yeah, while he is sniveling and groveling and begging Butcher in the most pathetic way to spare his life.
I think Eric Kripke made a good point because some people were saying that he should have left him to be alive or something. And Eric Kripke said, yeah, but there would be the undertone he would find V again. Or,
he would just find more Compound V somewhere and he'd get his powers back and then we'd be back to square one.
Yeah.
And also like Huey would have let him live, but Butcher is Butcher. Butcher wasn't going to let him live.
Yeah.
But like
Butcher
the hilarious thing, like Homelander says to Butcher as he's begging, there's the one line he says that's really telling where he says, all the times like I could have killed you and I let you live. You owe me because I could have killed you so many times. I let you live.
Yeah. He's sniveling and it's all caught on camera for the world to see.
It's all caught on camera for the world to see. It's interesting because I've seen like some commentary to being like, Homelander shouldn't have groveled like that. Like that was a massive loss of aura. Like I can't believe he just like lost all of his aura like that. He should have been.
Because all he was his powers. That was the point.
Yeah, that was the point. The point is, he is pathetic. He was always pathetic. He was
That's one of the things that I really liked about the way they handled his death is that when Kimiko used her radiation thing to take away his powers, she didn't just hit him. She hit Butcher, and she hit
Ryan.
Ryan.
Because Ryan and Butcher were holding him.
Powers.
Yeah, because Ryan and Butcher were holding Homelander in place for the blast.
And then Homelander tried to laser Butcher, didn't work. Tried to fly, didn't work. Then tried to throw a punch, and it was just like pathetic.
Yeah, pathetic.
It's just the idea of like, this is a guy who never learned how to like really fight. He just had way more power than everybody else. So like he
could just overpower people.
Pathetic.
Like, he doesn't know how to fight. Butcher knows how to fight.
Yeah, the thing is without that power, he's nothing. It's like Butcher had those powers for a bit, but he was something before he had those powers.
Right, yeah, exactly. Butcher didn't like really need those powers. I mean, he only needed them so far as to like not immediately get killed by a fully powered Homelander, but in general, Butcher didn't need those powers.
Yeah, and so once you like level the playing field, it's like, it's not like I think it would have sucked if they leveled the playing field and then they had like some epic like regular fight, unpowered fight. I think that would have sucked.
Yeah.
Because the idea then would have been like, oh, like Homelander's still tough or something. It's like, no, that's not the point. The point is that Homelander's pathetic. without his powers, he's literally nothing.
By the way, like, I love the way Anthony Starr in that scene does it too, because, like, the realization that he doesn't have his powers anymore, he tries to, like, pivot around Butcher and attempt to, like, run, but, like, Butcher moves, and it's very clear he wasn't going to be able to get past Butcher.
I just love the punch he threw, and Butcher just caught it like it was nothing, just like, yeah, this is pathetic.
Yeah, this is pathetic. Such a good end for Homelander. I mean, again, it was like, it was the only logical end that made sense for Homelander. Again, I thought the finale was good. And, like, it ended, like, where it needed to end.
Yeah.
You know, like, I thought, like, the characters had good resolutions. It's like, I don't think it was a perfect finale, because I think clearly there are issues that I can go into. I don't really want to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, overall, I thought it was a good ending for these characters.
Yeah, I think the finale was good. I think there were good moments throughout the season.
I especially like the episode.
The season as a whole was just, it was kind of weak because it did exactly what we were afraid it was going to do, but thought it wouldn't.
It wasted a bunch of time on running around looking for a MacGuffin and, like, setting up a spin-off show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like,
just treading water.
Yeah, just treading water. Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, that ended up being The Boys' legacy, I think, is a show that treaded water. Like, it didn't in the first season, really. And then, second season on, it was just every season it would jump in like, okay, now we're going to get into some exciting stuff, and then just treading water. And then it gets to the finale, and it's like, oh, some exciting stuff happens. Now we're going to go into the next season, and it's going to be exciting. Treading water again.
I think season 2 was good, because season 2 had the villain who wasn't Homelander, who they could focus on defeating for that season.
Mm-hmm.
And the other seasons don't really do that. I guess season 3, you could argue Soldier Boy, I guess, maybe, but it was still more about, I don't know, season 4 was, like, really just spinning its wheels. Like, they didn't really, like, know what they were doing with it at that point. That's like, okay.
Yeah.
I really didn't like season 4.
Yeah, season 4 is pretty weak.
Yeah.
But that's some of the issues with The Boys. Like, I think it's a worthwhile show in the end.
Yeah.
I think I enjoyed it enough to get value from it. I don't watch it now. I don't look back on it and go like, oh, what a waste of my time or something.
Right.
But it's also very frustrating.
Yes. It can be a very frustrating show for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's anything else to talk about with The Boys final season?
That's all I got for today.
Yep. That's it for me as well. So thank you everybody for listening. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm at Tyson Gifford. Will is at Voxel Hero on those platforms. You can check out our website, thetotalscreen.blogspot.com. If you go to our website and open up a container story for any of our podcast episodes and scroll down to the bottom paragraph, you'll find all the relevant links to our SoundCloud page, our RSS feed, all that stuff. You can also subscribe to our podcast to your favorite podcast client of choice, like Apple Podcast or Pocket Cast. And the entire backlog of our podcast, as well as additional content, is available on our YouTube channel as well. So check that out. Next week, we are going to finally be talking about Pragmata, or as I like to call it, Mega Man.
Yes, the Mega Man.
That'll be our topic for next week. Until then, thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.